call Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutations to all the Akim out there pushing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. To the scattered hopeful elect and the Akwak that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is Django coming to you with another lesson in marriage. And so, again, I just want to say that this is the 1907 Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 9. And I believe this is page 699 that we're going to start on right now. Okay, so it says here, marriage is a contract and is by its very nature above human law. Okay, so you see, yes, it's a contract. It's a contract between um, a man and a woman, right? Now, there it is above their human laws, because um, the union between a man and a woman, uh, the laws regulating it are written in the Bible, okay? So, um, it's interesting that the Catholic Church is going to say that that marriage is something instituted by God. It's something sacred. They say all these nice things, and they even say that men cannot regulate it. And but that's what they do. That's what they try to do. It's really weird. You have to have a firm. I will say you have to have. I don't want to say I have a firm understanding of the scriptures, but you have to. I don't want to try to make it seem like I'm this great biblical scholar and stuff because I'm not. I don't think so. No. Um, but I have read, uh, a good amount of the Bible. But the Spirit jumped on me to do this lesson, so um, this is what I'm doing. All right, so marriage is a contract. Okay, it was instituted by power, is subject to the divine law, which you know you have to understand. Um, the divine law, that's not in the Bible. There's only the law, you know, and the I don't see how anyone could miss it because it's like in the book of Exodus, it's when the Lord, when Yahweh comes down to the mountain, it talks about there being thunder and lightning and this cloud, and it was a pretty dramatic scene in the Bible. So I don't see, and it was like, bam, this is the law. It's really hard to miss. Um, so, but they say the reason why they say divine law is because the Catholics of the church, what we practice here in the West, they practice something called matrimony. Okay, it is very different from marriage that is instituted by Yahweh. Okay, that was given to the Israelites on Mount Sinai. It's not matrimony and what marriage really is. What's going on today and what marriage really is not the same thing. What's happening today is it's wicked. And so they did away with polygamy pretty much because of uh, they weren't it was just a way of dismantling, arresting the development of the sons of Jacob. And it was, they just couldn't compete in that arena. You know what I'm saying? And when it came to sex, and when I say they, I mean the Edomites. Um, so let's look at uh, what the Bible says, how it describes marriage. Again, I did this in my last video, but we're going to look at what marriage is again. 2:24. So it says in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And again, if you go and you look that up, Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, if you look it up in the concordance, look at the Strong's definition, okay? Matter of fact, um, okay. So we got so you go and you look at that word flesh there, okay? And let's it's H1320 basar. The Hebrew word for that is basar. It says flesh of the body of humans. And you go down to I'm reading the outline of the biblical usage, but it says male organ of generation. Okay. You go down to Strong's definition, it says flesh, by extension, body. Like, yeah, so a man's rod extends from his body. It also says, by euphemistically, the pudenda of a man, and it also says nakedness. So that's talking about, um, so when you have sex with a person, that becomes your spouse, so to speak. Um, if you have sex with a woman, she becomes your wife, you know? And if you have sex with a man, if you're a woman, of course, then that becomes your husband. That's the way it works. So, um, there's like a couple of other verses. Now, I know that I'm going to use this one. I know it sets a lot of people off. Uh, Let me see. I think I got it bookmarked in here. It's like Okay, I'm sorry about that, people. All right, so if you go to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 12, uh, Deuteronomy, here, let's look this up. Okay, all right, it says Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God when Yahweh thy power have delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother for a full month, and after that thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So you see, there's another, when you have sex with a woman, that's talking about a heathen woman. That means, and that becomes your, your wife, you know. And then another reason to support the claim of, when you have sex, that's when you get married. Um, if you go to Genesis, what is it, 15? Okay, and it says we're going to go to Genesis chapter 16, verse 3. And Sarai, that was Sarah before she became Sarah, Abram's wife, which is Abraham, but before he became Abraham. So, and Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. You see? And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So, right. So, and that proves that a man, that a marriage, the way that marriage was set up originally, a man could have more than one wife. All right. um it's not, and it's not a reason for a woman to leave or claim adultery because a man wants to get with another woman. These women, because of the Catholic Church and all the other churches that came out of them, have put it in the government, have put it in their head that, you know, they're equal to a man. They get to be, that they can tell a man that, he can't run his house the way he wants to. He can't, it's the man's family, and and it should be about his vision and stuff. you know a woman is supposed to be a helpmate, you know not supposed to be, fighting for control and trying to set him up to get him to sign these different things so she can take him to court and get money and just, you know being a demon. But there you can clearly see that it says you know you have sex with a woman, she becomes your wife. And I'm trying to think. I know there's another one. that talks about it. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. I don't like that. Oh, so to prove that you can have more than one wife, um, there's a Bible verse and it says something like, um, so if you go to um, Leviticus 25 2. No, not 2. Don't listen to that. That was just something I put in. Hold on. Um, Hold on. So it's like um okay. So if you go to Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 15, it says, if a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn um, before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn, but he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he hath. For he is the beginning of his strength, the right of the firstborn is his. So you see there, there's laws regulating um, how a man is supposed to conduct certain affairs um, if he has more than one wife. um Another one is, so that lets you know the thing is, that's how you know it was totally natural for a man to have more than one wife, because it doesn't give you, like, say, oh, a man can have more than one wife. It just tells you it was going on. That lets you know it was going on, because it just tells you laws to regulate. It gives laws on how to regulate it, so it's totally natural, you know. And so there's also another one that says, if it's like her food, her it's Exodus chapter 21 verse 10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish, you know. And people think that you know, when people people look at think of things like maid servant, you know, wife being a maid servant, a servant to the man, that it's like necessarily intrinsically abusive, you know, because a man has ownership of his wives. But it wasn't, I don't think that it was like that, because there's also a lot of things in the Bible that says that a man is to love his wives. And it also make it mentions like something like um you know she shall. Right. So if a man, Exodus 21 verse 7, and if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. All right. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. So, if you don't, what I'm saying, you bought her from her father or whatever, and she, you don't like her or nothing, you don't need to beat her up or, treat her bad or nothing like that. You just send her back. That's what that means. To sell, okay. Um, Okay, and then it goes on to say, to sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. Right. It was all good. You know, Basically, he was trying to, that keeps, you know, it wasn't, the practice wasn't about like abusing women or treating them like shit or nothing like that, you know, and it's just like, they said if you don't like her, she doesn't please you, just send her back, and you can't sell her to no strange nation, nothing like that, because you can't do that. That's not right. you know that's really, that's pretty bad. You're gonna sell your own people to some other people. Anyway, so that lets you know how marriage has changed, because now we have matrimony, and the church, the Catholic Church, and the government, they say that you know you have to. It's one man, one woman, or now it's all kinds of things. Okay, so it says those who contract marriage do so indeed by their own free wills, but they must assume that the contract and its obligations uh, unconditionally. Marriage is natural in purpose, but divine in origin. It is sacred, being intended primarily by the author of life to perpetuate his creative act and to beget children of God, power. Its secondary ends are mutual society and help, and a lawful remedy for concupiscence. Human law certainly takes cognizance of marriage, but marriage not having been established by man, its essential properties cannot be annulled by such law. Marriage is monogamic and indissoluble. Death. Okay, so again, they're pushing the monogamy. You know, um, but listen, it says when men pretend to be the final arbiters of the marriage contract, they base their claim on the assumption that this contract is merely of human institution and is subject to no laws above those of man. So we're going to look at what laws you're what laws that are above man, laws that you're subjecting yourself to uh, when you get married, and in the Christian sense. Okay. So, okay, so we're going to actually talk about the marriage ritual, this thing that like women, try to beg you to do, force you to do, with, you might be living with them, you guys are having sex, you might have kids. We married, so I ain't gotta do what you don't want to do, what you want me to do. And, they throw a fit and everything. They're already possessed with the demon. Okay. Then, they want you to throw a demon on you, and they want another demon on them. So we're going to get into that. So, marriage ritual of the form for the celebration of the sacrament of matrimony, as it stands in the, that Latin word there, of the present day, is remarkably simple. It consists of the following elements. It says a declaration of consent made by both parties, which, I'm sorry to say, it's not scriptural. You know, well, um, when I think was King David's wife, that, see, there was, I can't remember her name. Her name started with an A. I kind of want to say Abigail. I don't know. But she was originally married to this one guy who dropped dead. He was kind of wroth with King David because King David wanted to collect his money for protecting his fields, and the guy told him, was like, who are you, and this and that and the third, and uh the guy ended up dropping dead, and King David ended up with his wife, but he wanted her anyways. But that was something that the Lord, that Yahweh did for him. So, um formally ratified by the priests in the words. Okay, so this is what they say in Latin. It says, I unite you in wedlock in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Which, there's no such thing as wedlock. So when people are like, oh, they got a babies out of wedlock. Oh, no, you know, listen, people, don't let those people gaslight you into getting having a marriage ceremony, satanic, fine, we'll just call it a pagan wedding ceremony, and getting a marriage license. Don't do it. Okay. When you have sex, you're married, and you just stay married. Okay. That's the best thing. We need to stop looking to these different things for our, to depend on them to guide us morally, these different institutions to help, like we can't control ourselves, um like we, you know it's kind of insulting when you think about it, that you're going to get a marriage license, you know that you're demanding a marriage license, you know because it's someone who does that, they're not really all in. It's like they're fearful, so it's like, anyway. Okay, so a form for the blessing of the ring, okay, which the bridegroom receives back from the hand of the priest to place it upon the ring finger of the bride's left hand. So that's something that is still done to this day. Certain short versicles and a final benedictory prayer. This ceremony, according to the intention of the church, should be followed by, uh, for the nuptial mass, in which there are collects the married couple, as well as a solemn blessing after the pater noster, and another shorter one before the priest's benediction at the close. At this mass also it is recommended that the bride and the groom should communicate, but although here as elsewhere, that Roman ritual, we'll call it, may be regarded as providing the form of the church's ceremonial and treating of the sacrament of matrimony. A special rubric is inserted in the following terms. If, however, in any provinces, other laudable customs is okay. Okay. So then you go up here, right? And it says, okay, we're going to go down to the bottom. And it says origin of ecclesiastical uh, ceremonial. Okay, turning to the historical development of the ritual of matrimony, we may say that the church from the beginning realized that matrimony was in its essence a contract between individuals. So far as regarded the external forms, which gave validity to that contract, the church was ready to approve all that was seemingly and in accordance with national custom. Okay, recognizing that an engagement thus lawfully entered upon between two baptized Christians was elevated by Christ's we will call it Hamashiach's, I guess, institution to the dignity of a sacrament, which sacrament is not in the Bible. Okay. Wedlock is not in the Bible. Matrimony is not in the Bible. Monogamy is not in the Bible. I'm pretty sure sacrament's not in the Bible. I can look it up real quick. I'm going to look it up. Yeah, so if you look up any of those words in the Blue Letter Bible, it's going to tell you, hey, it's not in the Bible. It's because they made it up. It's fake, you know? So right here it says Duchesne is thus probably right in connecting those broader outlines of a religious service, which we can trace amid the diversities of the different medieval rituals with the pagan form of marriage, which had prevailed at an earlier date in Rome and throughout the Roman Empire. So it's not biblical. Okay, of course it's not. It's not the the ceremony is not biblical. It's not, or you know, it wasn't ordained by the Most High. There's no marriage ceremony or wedding rings in the scripture. Okay, that's not how people got married. And this was, you know, they're saying that this is paganism. So, um, in matrimony, it's like mandatory that the man and woman have to be monogamous for life, you know? And it's just, oh, and they also snuck in and changed the adultery thing too, where if a man, if even if the woman is single, if a man is married, he has sex with a woman, even if she's single, it's still adultery, and that is not biblical. And I'm not recommending that people sleep with whores or nothing like that. I'm just telling you what the scriptures say. So, um, it says Tertullian expatiates upon the happiness of that marriage which is made by the church, confirmed by the holy sacrifice, sealed by the blessing which the angels proclaim, and which is ratified by our Father in heaven. While elsewhere he speaks of the crown that the veil, the joining of hands, we can hardly doubt that we can hardly doubt then that the church accepted the leading features of that ceremony. of marriage, which was most in honor in pagan Rome. Yeah, all of these customs come from pagan Rome. They're all pagan. So, that's a pagan custom for, to have a marriage set up like that. Man, one woman. It's so, the Lord wanted us to multiply, man. So that's why he gave us these laws. So, but he wanted us to do it, safely, and, us to be a dignified people. Okay. We can, okay, excuse me, i.e., the conferratio. Remember that word. That's very important. And that it blessed these rites, substituting in particular the holy sacrifice of the Mass for the libations and sacrifices to the gods with which the profane ceremonies were solemnized. Okay? The matter is not entirely clear, and Friesen is tempted to look rather to Jewish prototypes, especially the blessing, for the outlines of the earliest ritual of Christian marriage. Remembering, however, the details given by Pope Nicholas I in his answers to the Bulgars, and regarding this description as a type of Christian marriage then recognized in Rome, we find that the whole ceremonial of Christian matrimony falls into two clearly defined parts. We have first the preliminaries constituting the betrothals, in its broader sense. Under this head, we may reckon primarily the betrothal strictly so called, i.e., the expression of the consent of the couple to be married and to of their parents to the projected union. But this is supplemented by the, that word, that rate, i.e., the delivery of the hey, excuse me, or pledges, ordinarily represented by the giving of a ring, which Nicholas I calls a nullus. Okay, so it's called the ring of fidelity, and two, by the handing over of the dowry secured by some legal document and delivered in the presence of witnesses. The second act, which may follow the sponsalia immediately or after some interval, comprises the celebration of Mass, at which the bride and bridegroom communicate the solemn benediction with Pope Nicholas associates with the veil held over the married pair, and three, the wearing of crowns as they leave the church. Although it is extremely difficult to determine in what precise measure the Roman and other from the time when the Goths and the Lombards made their power felt in Italy, there seems to be nothing here which may not be purely Roman origin, which would be pagan Rome, or obviously. Um, long before the birth of Yahushua Hamashiach, Roman custom drew a clear distinction between the sponsal. Okay, all right. So, and the marriage itself was later culminated in the conducting of the brides. Okay, so here they even say that, and the marriage itself, which later culminated. See, that's what it is. Esau knows when you have sex, you get married. He needs to stop bullshitting. And the conducting of the bride to her husband's house. You see, when you that's when you get married. And they've been telling people, they've been telling women, they've been telling girls that, you know, you can have babies out of wedlock, and you can have sex before you can have, they call it premarital sex. That's stupid. There's no such thing. You know, it's just, and the reason why they do this is because, look, they got marriage licenses and they got these bullshit weddings. And the reason why they do this is because of population control. And it it makes the girls whores. Honestly, it does. A marriage license, because it just it does, and they gotta have everything chaotic so they can run everything. So you can be distracted. So they can be, um, you're distracted trying to worry about your woman, or there's like all this whoredom and just stupid stuff going on, and they're like stealing your money, kicking you in the nuts, and saying that you're a criminal, and that you know they make the man the criminal. The man is the bad guy. Okay, anyway, that's what they try to make it seem. Okay, it says the sponsalia usually consisted of a promise ratified by the giving of a ring as a pledge. The actual nuptials, especially there's that word again, conferatio, were marked by the offering of a bloodless sacrifice, a cake of spelt, to Jupiter. The bride always wore a flame colored veil, and a crown encircled the brow of both the bride and the bridegroom. On the other hand, some of these features, for example, the clear distinction between the betrothal and the marriage, and the use of the wedding ring in the former ceremony, were also known among various Teutonic peoples at a very early date. So it's just paganism. So a couple of things that stuck out to me, obviously, were the bloodless sacrifice, the cake of spelt. So if you look up what a cake of spelt is, a cake of spelt is like a wedding cake. So when you eat that wedding cake, that's actually a tribute, to uh, the Roman god Jupiter. So let's go look at the Britannica Encyclopedia, and it says Jupiter, also called Jove, Latin, and some. It says the chief ancient Roman and Italian god, like Zeus, the Greek god with whom he is etymologically identical. Jupiter was a sky god. One of his most ancient epithets is Lucetius, Lightbringer. So, um, that right there, who's the Lightbringer? Let's keep it real, people. We know who that is. All right, that's Satan. That's Lucifer. Okay, that's the bad guy. We all know who that is. All right. Um. So his I guess his sacred tree is an oak tree. It says, okay, this is important. Jupiter was not only the great protecting deity of the race, but also one whose worship embodied a distinct moral conception. Okay, he is especially concerned with oaths, treaties, and leagues, and it was in the presence of his priests that the most ancient and sacred form of marriage, you see that? Conferatio took place. The lesser deities, Dies, Phidias, and Fides, were perhaps originally identical and certainly were connected with him. This connection with the conscious, uh, okay, all right. So again, those so when you get married, when you do that ceremony, you are putting a demon ring on this woman's hand, and you are making a pact, you know, that involves uh Satan. When you eat the cake, when you put the ring, look, the marriage it's evil. Don't do it. All right? Okay? Let me get some, because you know all right, Proverbs chapter 3 verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Okay. And there's another one that comes to my mind. Oh, you're probably wondering, how is all this coming out? Um, you know, how could this be? How could his hidden things be sought up? And well, what is that? I don't know. I just want to read it. Psalm 64, verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And it's true. It's true. It's their own encyclopedia. Now, I will give them credit. They've changed things throughout the years. You know, this is when we weren't supposed to be able to read, but it's the time. So but yeah, you know, it should come as no surprise why the Israelites have so many family problems, problems in romantic relationships, these, marriages and stuff. If you say when you have sex with someone, you're married, you're supposed to stay together, and that's just the way it is, and we need to start living our lives that way, you know. And I'm trying to. There's something that's invading me right now. Mhm. Oh, this is deep. This is deep. I want to show you this. It might not be a big deal to some of you. It's a really big deal to me. Mm, it says, hold on, I send. Okay. It says Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 through 33. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies uh, uh, and an adversary unto thine adversaries. So when I first read that, I saw that. That was like when I read through um those first 5 books the second time, and I caught that. I was like, oh man, it gave me chills because I knew exactly what that is. That I feel it, It's real spiritual, it's really deep. But it's true, like, as Israelites, this is a blood covenant we're a part of. You can say that, hey, it's 2020 and I'm gonna turn up and that's Old Testament and stuff. No, no, you cannot get out of this. You had blood sprinkled on you. You are in this. You cannot. So you cannot do that. That if you do that, because you are not supposed to be we are not supposed to be following after the ways of the heathen. We are not supposed to be making pacts between one another with other idols. Okay, when you put that wedding ring on, and that, look, you do it in front of the priest. It said that in Jupiter, okay, you're doing this custom, uh, and it's to pay homage, and tribute to these demons and Satan, okay, and they're not even, they don't, these demons, the Satan doesn't even like you, okay. They love their people, and we have our own God and he loves us, okay. So Esau can roll with Zeus and Jupiter in fidelity, fidei, and then we got Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, and that's just what it needs to be, you know. So think about that. I hope the lesson was I hope the lesson was edifying. And with that, I'm gonna close it out. Call Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. And until next time, Shalom.